We're back. The Ultimate VO Survivor, Take 2. 1,823 auditions. And over 15,000 votes. A virtual reality series that celebrates the world of voice actors. We will sweat, howl, bleed, spew, fart, seduce, make you laugh, cry, and beg for more. This is one show you don't want to miss. Episode 1, Commercial, Promo, November 3rd. Episode 2, Narration, November 10th. Episode 3, Animation, Gaming, November 17th. Don't miss our grand finale, November 24th, as we crown our Ultimate VO Survivor champions. Look at our incredible lineup of sponsors. Congratulations to our top contestants who've made the live shows. Who will be the next Ultimate VO Survivor, Take 2.
You mean I read all that for nothing?
Yeah. Do it again.
I'll do it again.
Do it again, Mr. Mike.
I had the wrong. Oh, so I can roll with this thing again? All right, here it comes. Ooh, there it is.
I got my push-up on.
Just for Jim Michael Collins. Holy snap, let the fun begin. Facebook Live, the portal, or through the Get Mike website. We're coming at you in 3D. Live! Spontaneous colors. Holla! Welcome one and all to the hair-raising, tongue-wagging, hand-wringing excitement of the Ultimate VO Survivor. Take 2, a phenomenal journey through the many tantalizing genres of voice acting. You know, it's a word often heard but rarely seen. Tonight you will join a series of talented soldiers of the world as they battle to win over $35,000 in incredible prizes that will change their career forever. You know, last week we covered the genre of commercials and TV promos. Tonight we will take a deep dive into the world of narration. Okay, can you hear me? Thank you. You will hear these talented individuals tackle the same script covering industrial, documentary, and audio books. I say welcome everyone at home who has come to cheer on the alchemists, creators and muses who will sweat, holler, gush, and guffaw while singing, burping, quite possibly leaping, compressing, yodeling, upchucking, and clucking. You name it, all in an effort to secure an ultimate place at the top of the competition ladder and walk away crowned the Ultimate VO Survivor. Well, it's time to meet the ultimate master of the show, your host on the coast with the most brazen attitude. Me, Mr. Mike, who promises to keep an eye on the clock and the bouncing ball rolling and maybe creative musings hopping through an evening of wild and wondrous entertainment as you, the viewer listener, escape into the magical realm of voiceover. Remember, folks, tune in every Wednesday night in November for the sheer fun of it. They say it takes a village, but so did the Normans, and there is no I in team, but there is an I in Mr. Mike. Now, let's give a huge shout-out to everyone who has joyously participated with over 1,823 auditions submitted and 100,000 views. My goodness, that is a small village to be pillaged, which affords 37 glorious contestants to play in 3 spectacular voice categories to take home thousands of dollars in ultimate prizes. So, without further ado, which according to Merriam-Webster is a state of agitation or fuss, especially about something unimportant, but this is important and what you all have been waiting for. The Ultimate VO Survivor Take 2, Round 2, category, Narration, Audiobook, Documentary. Okay, start your engines. It's only a voice-only round of auditions. Got it? Offering an awesome array of colors and delight. Our judges will then share a quick critique comment for each audition round. Only round 1, not round 2, okay, auditioners? So stay focused on the nuggets they give. The judges have 1 minute to critique. 1 minute only. JMC. Sorry. And then a buzzer will be deployed. I don't have it handy, but who gives a damn? Okay, judges, you'll be listening to their slates, so don't forget, guys, slate and gals, don't forget to slate your name and have some fun. Your creativity, and he, they, and them, your creativity and how to connect to the script and the character, your vocal variety, your overall performance, and how much fun you are having in both your script choices. So, I say, let's get this party started!
Let's show them our narration compilation and then we'll introduce those judges. Here we go.
You did it! And to think it all started with just a splash of inspiration.
It felt like an impossible dream at times, but now, here you are.
And it's working. You have customers. Maybe even a few fans.
In fact, as you look over last month's report, maybe your online sales are growing too fast.
Ha. Too many customers. No such thing, right? You're good.
The advertising's on point, and the website's gobbling up orders.
Oh, here's the wrench. The proverbial fly in the ointment.
The orders are stagnant, jammed in an antiquated warehouse instead of on their way to happy customers.
It's a small problem now, but what happens during your biggest sale of the season? Or when you continue to grow with the launch of that new product line?
We are Ocean X, and this seems like a good time for us to cut in.
Day and night until no one dies. There. Woo! And you know what that means, Deb. It's time to meet the incredible panel of judges and your hard-working Get Mike team. Hit it, Bobby. Oh, yeah. A 38-time Voice Arts winner. The voice of thousands of commercials who is heard across the USA every day, and a man wanted for the cold-blooded murder of tens of thousands of lobsters. Or is it lobster? Please welcome our gold sponsor and master of all things voice, V.J. Michael Collins!
Hi, everybody.
Not wonderful. Well, thank you, Jimmy. Here it goes. Next, a veteran of the talent business, after 30 years plus as a talent agent representing and advocating for exceptional on-camera and voiceover talents, she sold her top-tier agency, Tag Talent, in 2018. Since that time, she has focused on her energy to create Cast Voices, a fair, unbiased job-matching platform for VO talent that launched this June. Please welcome the amazing Greek Liz Atherton.
Oh, I love it. Can I be Greek because you said that?
You can be Greek, but she is not Greek. But you never know. We can do that 23andMe and find out if she's really Greek or not. Of course, now we go on and meet our creators of the ultimate VO Survivor. This dynamic duo with sass, class, and a nice set of pizzazz. I didn't say it, Elley. Get Mike founders Deb Munro and Elley Ray. Now, let me tell you something. Ooh, Deb Munro, Nordine, has over 30 years of experience as a voice talent working from the comfort of her home in her PJs. Oh yeah, Deb is an award-winning powerhouse of energy, talent, and drive, all rolled into one. Time efficiency is her middle name, so she will get right to the point with a slightly comedic approach, sure to entertain and educate. Passion plus, Deb loves what she does, and it shows, and she writes and sings some pretty dope songs. The great Deb Munro.
Oh, thanks so much, guys, for having us. We just wanted to say hi, and we know that a lot of you kind of want to know a little bit about this for those of you that are not involved, and especially in the voice acting industry. Well, we put this Give Back initiative together, Elley and I, as a way to say thank you and to celebrate the storytellers, especially through COVID when all of us weren't working. We thought, what could we do and how much fun could we have? So as you can see, we put together a technically probably nightmarish, fun, crazy, overwhelming couple of hours of entertainment each week. We hope you will join us and celebrate the voice actor, because it's something we are, something we celebrate, and something we're so proud to be a part of. So we just can't thank you all enough. Please share it, like it, follow us, take us everywhere you got to go so that we can enjoy this with you and celebrate the talent and all the stuff that everybody's put together, all the sponsors, everybody's at the team, the entire team. This is a tech almost nightmare sometimes. So thank you guys for having us. Thank you, Mr. Mike.
Welcome. And she sold blood to make it through COVID. Oh, sorry, wrong script. What can I say about my friend Elley Ray? She is the voice oracle, the mistress of mirth and madness, and has been wowing the masses for an award-winning 44 years. Started when she was a baby. In film, television, stage, radio, internet, and so much more. She has a special brand of joie de vivre and is an ever-loved bon vivant who is an honored doctor of laws, actor, writer, director, teacher, illustrator, and and wizardess of all things creative. This unicorn queen gives with all her guts. Please give it up for a person of interest and a ball of energy that makes the Tasmanian devil look like a shut-in. Here's Elley Ray!
Love you all. Thank you for joining us, everyone at home, everyone here tonight, everywhere. Honored to have so much support from the community. And that's what we're all about, community. The human connection is communication. That's what we deal with. That's what we give. We're here to inspire, to enlighten, and uphold all that is communicative. And so we share with you that, and we hope that you enjoy the offerings that we've got with all of our great talents tonight, and that they will inspire you as they have inspired us. Enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you next week and the week after. Yahoo!
Ow!
Now, without this team of powerhouses pulling the strings and mastering all things tech, media, digital, brain bending and wondrous, it's our amazing VA tech team. My goodness, they're wonderful. Keep in mind, this is an all-volunteer initiative, so we are all here just having a good time, trying to make J. Michael Collins laugh. Please give it up for Sam Swain, Amanda Brandt, Anna, Earl Fischer, Megan Newman, Storm Waters, Roman Barry, Colin Doyle, and Jonathan Harris. Technically, John Harris. Now, fasten your parachutes and take off your sunglasses, everyone, because things are about to get crazy. So without further delay, let's get this party started! You know you can't party to medieval music, you dopey guy. So please, my friend Deborah, welcome our first contestant.
Stephanie Nemeth-Parker.
All right, Stephanie, you're up.
Yee-hoo-wee!
Grüezi miteinander. This is Stephanie Nemeth-Parker. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and here in Switzerland, and here we go. All around the world, mountains are on the rise, and in a few places, this can happen more swiftly, like the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Weyrich. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide, because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway due to the panoramic view.
Wow, this ain't gonna be easy. Okay, let's hear from our esteemed judges in this order. JMC, Liz Atherton, Deb Munro, and the wonderfully vivacious Elley Ray.
Stephanie, it's hard not to react well to you. You obviously didn't just fall off the turnip truck. You know your way around a piece of copy. You have a lovely voice, and you know how to use it. You brought the script to life. I think that there were moments and there were a little more fluidity would have been better, but perhaps a little breath control in a place or two that we could work on. But overall, you engaged me. I was interested, and I could visualize what you were talking about without actually seeing the picture. And I think that's the hallmark of good narration. So pretty strong stuff.
Woo, Liz.
I would like to echo what J. Michael said. I closed my eyes and just listened to you, and I could feel like I was with you on this journey. So I thought it was very, very good. I also would like to echo what he said about there's a little bit of punchiness, some words that were kind of highlighted that maybe not so much, and a little bit of the breathiness. But in general, I was very engaged. I was much listening, and I'm, bravo.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. I know I have this echo, guys. I'll try and fix it, but I really liked it. And I hear what everybody's saying there. I'm in love with your voice. Just talking to you earlier, I was just, wow, okay, you could say anything to me. So I'd be moved no matter what. That's just the advantage you have. I found it almost, well, I guess fluidity is the key. because it felt almost choppy to me in parts, and yet I can tell that you're amazing. I can tell that you've got beautiful fluidity, but I would increase more variety inside the way you approach each sentence so that it has a little bit more change ups, just a slight bit. It's not about an emphasis or a connection. It's just more, a lot of the sentences kind of came out similar, and I would like to hear just a little bit more changes in that, because you draw me in so quickly and easily. We're just encaptured by you for sure. So that would be like the advanced direction I would give you, just to give it a little bit extra.
Elley Ray.
I concur with everyone. You know, there's a magic in you. There's a resonance that is alchemical. It's the kind of thing we're drawn to. It's a sensual relax, and I think that's fabulous. That once upon a time is where it started, and you've got this beautiful energy. It remained a bit in the once upon a time, and if I could just maybe give my 2 cents on that, for me, it was like tonally consistent in the once upon a time. I love the once upon a time, but the consistency I was looking for, maybe a little bit of musicality internalized away from the resonance, which is so haunting. It actually puts you into a bit of a relax listening to you. So I loved it. Absolutely. Just look for the climax in this audition so that it would give you a rise, like move into it. Where is the climax in this short piece for your audition? And other than that, don't play the disaster. Just tell the disaster. You got kind of sad and serious. Yeah, I'll get that. Goodbye, but awesome. That was beautiful.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you, Stephanie. Now moving to the, same side of the planet. It's 6 a.m. his time. We have
Vijayan Menon.
Not 6 a.m. It's Joe.
Vijayan, you're up.
Well, I'm not actually in Mumbai. My name's Joe, and I'm from Yorkshire.
I was gonna say.
Stand by, stand by.
Well, we'll just take Joe. We'll get
That's
Vijayan in after.
Told off constantly for talking too much at school. Little did they know it would end up paying my rent. Thank you, judges. Hello, world. I am Joe Pickard.
Woohoo! Awesome. And which script are you doing again, Joe?
I'm doing Audiobook 3.
Wonderful.
His fists were already curled and ready. He planned to wait on the street, follow Sam for a block or two, then beat the shit out of him. But he heard her crying. He was turned towards the street, his body braced, his mind full of violence. She was crying as if her heart were broken, curled up on the stone bench by the dormant azaleas. Perhaps if she'd been given to tears, Luke could have ignored it and gone about his business. But in all the years he'd lived with the Novellis, he'd never once heard Roxanne cry since her bout with chickenpox. The sound of it reached inside and took him by the heart. Come on, Roxy. Awkward and out of his depth, Luke walked to the bench and patted her head. Don't do that. She kept her face pressed against her knees and sobbed. Jesus. However reluctant he was, Luke found himself sitting beside her and drawing her into his arms. Come on, baby, don't let him make you cry like this. He's a bastard, a freaking creep. He sighed and rocked and found himself gradually calming. He's not worth it. He said half to himself, realizing Mouse's words had been right on target. He used me. Roxanne murmured against Luke's chest. She had control of the sobbing now, and nearly felt strong enough to stop the tears. He pretended to be my friend, but he never was. He used me to take things from people I cared about. I heard what he said to Daddy. It was like he hated us. Like he hated us all along. Maybe he did. What do we care?
Nice. J. Michael.
Excuse me.
You're
No, I'm
muted.
not muted anymore. Wow. I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks. Now I want to. You were on that read like Liz Atherton on An Eligible Bachelor. That was really, really something to behold.
That is going on my website.
Joe, I have absolutely nothing for you. I want to hear it again. It was brilliant. Wonderful, wonderful work.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, your slate. Well, when I get off The Bachelor, we've got to meet. No. Your slate was fabulous. I really liked it. And then we kind of cut to to what you were talking about, but I thought your slate was creative. Bravo. I'm a big slate girl when they call for it. I loved it when you dropped into your lower man voice register. It was just enough. It was just enough that you knew you were taking on that character without trying to mimic that character. And I thought that was fabulous. I might have wanted a little, and listen, this is being picky just because we're supposed to be picky right today, right? I might have I liked a little bit more if you go in a little bit lower and a little bit slower in a couple of places, just for that dramatic oomph. And the only other thing that, and again, I'm being picky because you could talk all the time to me. When you went into your little, the woman voice where she was distressed, sorry, did I hit our timer?
It was the money coming through that I'm paying you to say this thing.
It was a little animated for me, that girl. Bravo, bravo.
Thank you, Liz.
Joe Pickard.
Okay. Joe, that was beautiful. You have a beautiful storytelling voice. I love hearing you. I think to be critical, get right to the point so I don't waste all my time. I think it was, I think you had an intensity in the beginning throughout for the narrator. And I would have liked to hear a little more variety in the narrator that way in that beginning, because it was neat. It was a good intensity, but I don't think it was necessary for the entire duration it was there. And kind of going with what Liz said, I would have loved to heard when she was crying there at the end, when she said, I heard what he said to Daddy. A little pause there and a change up in your crying, even though you kind of did it towards the end as well. But more for me, it was your narrator. I would love to have just a little bit more warmth sometimes, maybe some of that intensity, because I love that you can go there. I would have just played around with that, just totally directable. So great job.
I loved it. Goodbye. I loved it. I loved it. The vulnerability is rare. To be able in an emotional piece to open up, actors kind of close in and show a little bit. I felt you took time around that, and I just found there were just haunting musicalities in there that I don't hear usually. I don't hear them. So that vulnerability of the performer really kind of went right into my heart chakra. So good for you.
Oh, thanks. Big love.
Thank you, Joe. Now I can say it, can't I, Deb?
You sure can.
6 a.m. Arise and shine. We have
Vijayan Menon.
And you are back on.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vijayan. And what's your script? First one.
Script 2.
2.
Documentary it is.
Hi, everybody. This is Vijayan from Mumbai, India. And a good morning to all the contestants and the judges. Thank you.
Check.
All around the world, mountains are on the rise. And in a few places, this can happen more swiftly, like the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Wyrick. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway due to the panoramic view.
Yeah, Michael.
Very nicely done, Vijayan. Thank you.
Thank
I
you,
like
guys.
again. You guys are a strong group so far. I like your sound a lot. You have a great accent that is going to serve you well in narration, because there's a lot of call for people who are very proficient in English but don't sound specifically American, UK, or Australian. And you hit that nail on the head pretty well. That's a lovely read. I think it's
Thank you so much.
very draws me in. It's very interesting. Again, you're painting a picture, like I said to Stephanie. If I have one thing for you, there was maybe a little too much deliberate animation in the read. I think you could have probably toned that down just a little bit. And one thing with documentaries is you want to be careful not to try and be the star and overpower what might be the visual and the story that's being told. Doesn't mean you have to fade into the background. It just means that you don't necessarily need to be the center of attention. And I think perhaps we were a little too animated in places, but I'd be perfectly happy to listen to you on my TV. Good stuff.
You hit
Well
the buzzer, Liz.
Thank you.
Well done. I really enjoyed it. Your voice is just delicious. In terms of the read, it felt a little bit choppy to me. And I think maybe that's why Jamaica was saying deliberate. I felt like I wanted a little bit more emotion in keeping with kind of the sad story that was going on, and it didn't feel like there was a shift in plates causing problems, perhaps. But other than that, I thought it was fantastic. I appreciate that you slated at the beginning, and I'd listen to you read a book to me anytime. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely love your accent. It just draws me in. I like how alluring it is. There's an allurement out of you, and I love hearing such a unique sound for something like this. I think that it suits it really well. I think I would cast you in it easily. I do agree with especially with J. Michael's comments. Maybe not so much that I hear it as animated, but maybe a mixture between what Liz is saying and JMC, just a little more intimacy, because that's kind of when we deal with TV film, it's a little, we don't have to work as hard, but you draw us in. So just relaxing a bit in that. And I loved when you said something about the spoons there. It was just so adorable and warm, and a beautiful smile in the voice. So I really, really liked it, actually. I just really liked it. I understand, though, the need for a bit more intimacy in it.
I loved it. I think your voice is international. So what it does is it creates a magic for the North Americans. And I agree with J. Michael. The British always have a bit of a step up, because there's a heightened sensuality. There's a worldliness about your voice that actually engages us, engages the listener. And you've got that in spades. I just felt you needed to relax maybe just a bit at the beginning and breathe into it. Allow yourself to breathe a bit. And I think that's where the kind of musicality got lost. You hit it on spoon. You went spoon, and your personality came out, and your breath kind of hit. But that was just, I feel you a bit of nerves off the top. And I feel that your voice is awesome. And like Liz says, I could listen to you read the phone book.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Vijayan. Taking the mic next and hopefully giving it back.
Greg Williams.
I'll be reading documentary script number 2.
Number 2 it is. You're up.
All around the world, mountains are on the rise. And in a few places, this can happen more swiftly. Like highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Wiriek. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide, because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway, due to the panoramic view.
Once again, I think everybody who's read so far is well suited for what it is that they're reading. Again, instinctively, as Elley Ray said, we all, I think, react fairly well to the British sound. It's for anybody who wasn't in last week's episode. One of the things I said then was that when I used to go in to actually read live for auditions back in the old days, if the room was half filled with Brits, I would just leave because I knew I wasn't getting the job. So there's a lot to like. I felt a little nervousness in there. There was a little sense of butterflies. A couple of places where, as we've commented with some of the other readers, there got a little staccato. And I think that's a technique that works well in documentary in a small measure. But if it becomes the dominant part of the read, then it starts to take over the ear a little bit and becomes very noticeable. I think the nerves caused a couple of breath support issues too, but at the end of the day, nice sound for the piece, and I think it was a good effort.
Get it?
Thank you.
So, I think you did a fantastic job. I mean, anybody that's standing in front of us today or whatever through our screen has done a fantastic job. I felt like your pace, and maybe it's just like J. Michael said, I felt like your pace was almost forced and you were trying to keep it slow and you were trying to make sure you said everything. That is how you started. And then you started to kind of get into your lane. And as you got toward the end of it, you just started relaxing and you were talking, and it was so much easier to listen to you because it was smoother. And I would encourage you to maybe, like Elley had said with another person, take a big old deep breath and, dance a jig or something. And just so that by the time you step in front of the microphone, you're a little, just relaxed or something. But wow, your diction is so spot on. I was very impressed. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. I mean, I don't want to just reiterate, but what was interesting is that I heard a very interesting choice, actually. And when we do documentary, typically we don't do it all in a big, long storyline. It is disjointed moments. And then there's a lot of visuals that go with that. And then there'll be another line where we're adding in. So in some ways, you really honored what typically we end up doing. It's just not written as such this way. Obviously, it's written in more paragraph format as if it is a storyline. So it just depends on which way we're going with it. But I think even that still, you just felt a little disconnected but affected nicely. So you were affected nicely in where your vocal sat. I like the placement. I like the idea of it, but it felt just very purposeful on your choices in that beginning. And again, I think probably nerves, but I did appreciate that. It's almost like I would have liked to have heard that with the last contestant, more paced out things like that. So there's some cleverness in that too, depending on what we're seeing for the visuals, right? So nice job. You're a beautiful vocal. I remember your auditions well.
Thank you.
Agreed. Craig, you've got a great voice. I won't reiterate. I felt like you just needed to take a little bit of a bath, meaning I needed some fluidity in your read. And that choppiness, I put it up to nerves, like, hey, who wouldn't be nervous? Because you did settle. You settled halfway. I too, like Deb, didn't mind the statement of certain things with pausing, but it was choppy in the way that it felt like you were holding on to it for dear life. And that comes, I think, with nerves, but I honestly didn't mind it. You warmed it up really nicely at the end. Just beware of remaining in neutral. The key was in the ignition, but you kind of stayed in the neutral of not accelerating the vehicle anywhere. It kind of stayed neutral here, and I just wanted you to drive a bit into it. And it doesn't mean getting bigger, it just means it needed to move a bit forward. That was all that I was looking for. But glorious calls, thank you.
No, I thank you for the input, because nerves is a huge thing for me, so thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Woohoo!
And now, returning from season 1 of VO Survivor, please give it up for
Stephen Vlahos.
Stephen, you're up. Which script did you choose?
Sorry, Mamma Mia. I chose documentary script number 2, or so awesome. Just documentary script then.
You betcha. Introduce yourself,
All right. Hi, folks. I'm Stephen Vlahos from Scarborough, Ontario. I'll be reading the documentary script, and I will try my best not to throw up.
You're a pro. Come on. Old hat.
All around the world, mountains are on the rise. And in a few places, this can happen more swiftly, like the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Wyrick. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide because it moves along subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway due to the panoramic view.
Thank you, Stephen. Like your pacing. I like the rhythm of the read a lot. I think my ability to give you feedback would be based to some degree on what network this would be on. If this were on Nat Geo Kids, I love your read. If it's on Discovery, it's too big and too bright and a little too overcooked, and it's trying just a bit too hard. So I'll split the difference. It depends on the audience. My instinct is that it's perhaps a little too perky, a little too energetic, and not quite serious enough for the subject matter. But again, I go back, if you put it on Nat Geo Kids or something that's targeted towards a younger audience, I think it works. So the little bit from both columns, but good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
God, J. Michael, after the Bachelor statement earlier, I just don't want to be nice, but I got to be
nice.
I mean, you said it perfectly. If you were on Nat Geo for Kids, you would have knocked it out of the park. And I mean, I don't know where we're aiming or where we are, but for me, it felt a little overacted. It felt like you were just too much into it. And I mean, we've been using the word animated. It really wasn't animated. It just felt like, just like what J. Michael said, just a little too much, a little too punch, a little too that and this. There were some sweet spots, though. When you started talking about Dr. Frank, and I think there was a river statement, you got on into this register of yours, my version of it, and you really hit this voice that I just wanted to, absorb. It was just so perfect for what this is. But gosh, you got talent coming out your little fingers. It's great. And I thought you did a great job. Just pick your audience.
Totally. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah, Stephen, you know what? Great to have you back. Thanks for coming back. You earned a spot back again. You're obviously very talented. I think you just have one of those really big voices that's very powerful. And I think that you don't realize how powerful it is. And I think it's hard because I feel I have a bigger voice as well. And so it's harder for me to go intimate because I feel I'm not doing enough. And I think you need to trust in how big your voice is, and that going more intimate for you is actually the allure about your voice. You have this beautiful tonality and this beautiful texture, and you suit this industry so well, especially the documentary narration, all the categories you really suited well. But I think you need more intimacy. I think it just needs to be a little more like get closer to the mic and allow it to be quieter, but stay in the same feelings that you're feeling, because you've got the right idea of how you're breaking it up. You've got the right idea of how to, the energy that it, not the energy, I shouldn't say that because it's a little too big in the energy, but you know what you're doing, I think is what I mean to say. You just got to relax in it and trust that more intimate side of you, us girls are going to die. Sorry.
I'm a bit of a different thinker this way, only because I've heard all your auditions and you do that intimate, warm, kill me with the voice thing. So I appreciate what you did, because there's a line in the script that I find interesting, like jelly sliding from a spoon, which is funny. That's an odd analogy, and it's a younger analogy. And I personally went, they're trying to do it kind of like jelly sliding from a spoon. And I go, there's something in the youthfulness, I gotta say, that it worked for me in that way, because that line made sense. I agree that you could get all perky, and we're adults doing narration and documentary, and the earnest drama that actors bring to the table is always sort of what we looked as is beautiful. And it's frowned upon to kind of be energized for a youthful. I don't want to be ageist. And I personally liked it.
Awesome.
Thank you, Elley.
Like timing. Thank you, Stephen. And according to his family, let's hear from the one, the only...
John Meissner.
John, you're up.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, John.
And which script are you doing first, John? Sorry.
The documentary script.
Documentary it is. Popular one today, let me tell you.
What's older than dirt? White on top and rough around the edges. Some people might say it's me, but it's not. I'm John Meissner, and in this episode, we'll take a look at mountains. All around the world, mountains are on the rise, and in a few places, this can happen more swiftly, like highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like this guy, Dr. Frank Wyrick. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide, because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway, due to the panoramic view.
Fascinating listening to these reads back to back of the same script. Somewhat similar reaction to our last person, Stephen, but this one was maybe even more interesting in some ways. I love the chuckle on the jelly line with a spoon. That was great. That brought the playfulness in their home. You took a more youthful, playful approach to this. So I'll give you a little bit of the same feedback I gave to Stephen, which is if we're targeting, Nat Geo kids, if this is going to be a cutaway on an old Bill Nye the Science Guy episode or something like that, it's perfect. It's a great read. If it's going to be on a more serious network, it's way too much. But let's assume that we're going for that pocket of something that is going to be on the appropriate network. It's a lot of fun. You hit the humor points. You played with it. You painted the picture. So yeah, good on you. Nicely done, John.
Thank you.
I loved it. I thought it was such a fantastic read. I agree. I mean, we don't know whether you're talking to a room of teenagers. I felt like I was in an e-learning class learning about this event called Titanic, whatever they're called. And I thought it was fantastic. I thought your pace was good. I thought the way that you added the human inflection with the humor was good. Again, if you were going to be reading this to a bunch of old stodgy parts, that would not have been the read. It would have been way too over the top. But I'm an old one of those stodgy people, and I was thoroughly engaged with the read, and I thought you did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic here because, I look at the copy and I think, well, not too many younger kids are going to listen to swiftly populated bad grammar like we gave you. So done. But I think that the first part of it for me felt like a narrator versus a documentary reader. And the second part felt like I was in a kid's documentary now. And so I think the first part I might have massaged a bit better to match a little bit more what you were doing with the second half, because I love the playfulness in it. And we didn't tell you what this was. We didn't tell you what the age was, the demographic was. So it is your creative freedom to do what you want. And I think you did a great job in that creative freedom. And you gave us something a little different. My negative really becomes you sounded like a narrator first to me. I would have listened to an e-learning thing, just like what Liz had said. And then the next part was like, oh, okay, I'm there. I'm here. I'm sliding with you. I'm playing on the spoon. I'm good. I'm happy. So great job on that aspect.
Thank you.
I agree with everybody. I knew who your audience was. I knew who your audience was. And that's the key ingredient in every script you ever do. The lead is the audience. And I knew who your audience was. So I don't care if old fogies don't like it, because that was a read for young people. Yeah. And I loved your slate, and I loved your embellishments, and I loved your sense of play with something that could be quite square and not round, because most actors would look at this and do the serious read And I think you made a decision that was unique, like Stephen, and sort of went in a different direction. And I give you kudos for that. And then if they want it differently, they would hire you and direct you in a different way.
Thank you. Well, I have 2 little kids, and like you said, trying to get them interested in something like a rotational slide on a tectonic plate, forget it. So this kind of really worked for me. So
That's
I'm
awesome,
glad everyone
John.
enjoyed it.
Thank you, John. And it's now time to pay for those plates. What I eat, Elley? Fish, 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 fish.
And we are back.
We're back. Oh my goodness, you know what that means, don't you, Deb?
What does it mean, Mr. Mike?
The excitement is just getting started. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Please join us and write commercials in the chat and tell... comments, not commercials. Don't do that. Write comments in the chat and tell us who you would pick and help us choose our winner now. Grab a handful of popcorn and let's get back to William Shatner and the show. No, he's not here, but who cares? Okay. And now it's time to step in our virtual booth and hear from...
Will Reierson.
And Will, you're up.
Will.
Hey, Will, you might be...
Reierson,
There he is.
Reading Audiobook script number 3. His fists were already curled and ready. He planned to wait on the street, follow Sam for a block or 2, then beat the shit out of him. But he heard her crying. He was turned toward the street, his body braced, his mind full of violence. She was crying as if her heart were broken, curled up on a stone bench by the dormant azaleas. Perhaps if she'd been given to tears, Luke could have ignored it and gone about his business. But in all the years he'd lived with the Nouvelles, he'd never once heard Roxanne cry since her bout with chickenpox. The sound of it reached inside and took him by the heart. Come on, Roxy. Awkward and out of his depth, Luke walked to the bench and patted her head. Don't do that. She kept her face pressed against her knees and sobbed. Jesus. However reluctant he was, Luke found himself sitting beside her and drawing her into his arms. Come on, baby. Don't let him make you cry like this. He's a bastard, a freaking creep. He sighed and rocked and found himself gradually calming. He's not worth it, he said, half to himself, realizing Mouse's words had been right on target. He used me, Roxanne murmured against Luke's chest. She had control of the sobbing now and nearly felt strong enough to stop the tears. He pretended to be my friend, but he never was. He used me to take things from people I cared about. I heard what he said to Daddy. It was like he hated us. Like he'd hated us all along. Maybe he did. What do we care?
Nice. This is a heck of a script if people pull it off, and you did. Again, very emotional, very well connected, kept my interest throughout, and was very personal. It's a moving piece of copy when done well, and so far we've had 2 people, and both of them have done it very well. Will, I mean, I have a hard time believing you as the voice of a young girl. But I mean, I guess that's the nature of audiobooks to some degree. So that's a kind of an unfair criticism. God, I don't have a lot for you, man. I enjoyed it.
Thanks.
I'd like to compliment you on your slate versus when you kicked in to read. Listen, again, if they asked for a slate, the fact that your slate was one voice and your read was a completely different voice, I was like, ba-boom. I mean, range. So I thought that was fantastic. Your voice definitely painted a visual for me. I felt a little rushed. Felt like you could have slowed it down a little bit, maybe dropped in, you had lots of drama going on, but maybe drop into a little bit more, paint that darkness with your voice drama would have been a really thing. I mean, it felt very Dick Tracy. I mean, I felt like I was on my edge of my seat. That would be a Texas Dick Tracy. Anyway, the little girl, yeah. I mean, that was, I mean, kind of fell off when that little girl was kind of chipping into her thing, and it was hard to even understand what you were saying. So I don't know how you would get around that, but bravo.
Thank you.
Nice job, Will. I would suggest, I loved your slate and I loved how playful it was. You're just so playful and I just love seeing you for some reason. I just gravitate to you. But I would suggest take a moment between that beautiful, fun slate and then your first words of copy so that you don't, because I think that launched you into a bit of a bigger narrator than you probably even meant to be at the time. That's my theory. I don't know that for sure. But I felt like the narrator kind of sounded shocked all the way through that first paragraph. And I would just encourage you to allow and understand that that's the expert. The narrator is the expert in the copies. So they wouldn't be shocked by anything. They'd be more, in control of what happened and reciting or reliving that experience. So I would just watch that a bit. But the second half, again, was really nice. I love the emotion. You are a very emotive actor. I love that. You have a sensitivity about you, which is wonderful. You can bring that to a script. And then you also showed us you have a big strength too. It was a strong narrator in the beginning. It was very strong. But again, I think I would have had that transition. It would have helped a bit. Nice job.
Thank you.
I loved it. That's an exact way why we ask for slates, because the clever actor shows more than one voice. They get to show two at least, or if they're really clever, they'll show several during their slate and then they drop into their character. So great work, Will. I really liked it. I loved the tough kind of Dick Tracy feel, the removed kind of feel, and the speed with which it came. I would have liked a Once Upon a Time on it though. You kind of shit the bed on the first, you went right into it fast, and I wanted you to invite us in a little bit. Other than that, I have not much to say. There was a musicality. You're a good actor. I can hear the he, where you elongated and you found your emotional truth. And, it's not easy to play a young girl crying. And I thought you did an incredible job with rhythm, tone, pitch, speed, musicality.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Good, Will.
Next in the VO line and just in time, it's
Chad William Fischer.
All right, Chad, you're up. You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Hello,
and which
everybody.
script are you choosing first, Chad, before you say hi to everybody?
Script
Sorry.
number 1.
Number 1 it is. Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Chad William Fischer, voice actor, submarine veteran, family man, and ultimate VO survivor, reading script number 1. In an all-out effort to clean up the city streets, San Francisco's Public Works Department inaugurated Operation Scrubdown. 3 times a day, city workers moved through a 30-block area, cleaning the pavement with high-pressure hoses, rousting squatters, and taking away shopping carts filled with refuse and personal belongings. Operation Scrubdown is the brainchild of Mohammed Nuru, a Nigerian who worked for years as an advocate for San Francisco's homeless, and who says he believes you don't help people by encouraging them to live on the streets. Nuru says his crews remove between 200 and 500 carts from the streets every day.
Cool. Chad, man, you and I have worked together. I like your sound. This one left me a little cold. I didn't feel a lot of connection there to the copy. I felt like you were rushing a bit. It felt like it was in a little bit of a hurry to get where it was going. You bring your typical youthful enthusiasm to it, which is good, and I think that that can work very well for this kind of a piece. But I want to be engaged a little bit more, and it felt a little bit reedy to me. Refuse was a little bit of a weird word, and there was a kind of a wobble at the end of that paragraph. The energy was maybe just a little too nervous and a little too hot, and I'd encourage you to just relax on something like this, bring it down a little bit, and engage with the story a bit more. But good effort.
Thank you, JMC.
So I felt when I first started listening to you like I was listening to a commercial, and it was I was just all in for a commercial read. I liked your voice for it. Especially at the beginning, but then you did have a couple of those wobbles. And I felt like when we started talking about the squatters and whatnot, I felt like then it turned into this, it's a much more opinionated kind of read that was lacking. Now, if I were to have given you direction at that point, it would have said lean into, and the squatters are bad people, because I felt like that's what the overall meaning of it was. But in terms of your voice, it felt, like I said, a little bit more of a commercial read, but I thought you did great. And your slate, by the way, bravo. You get to know everything all about you in your first, 22 words, and all of it's real impressive. And I thought that's a real good way to grab the attention of the listener. You're reaching out to a family man, you're reaching out to the veterans. The fact that I can even remember you said veteran and family man is a win. Good job, Chad.
Yeah, Chad, I love you as the blue-collar worker narrator. I love that home for you. That is the perfect casting for you. It is a commercialized sound as well, but there's a beautiful, approachable, energetic guy that you just want to listen to, and he's got a little edge of professionalism in him. And so that part, I am totally gravitated to you for this script. I think where you kind of lost me is because you were just in a rush to get to the end, even though you weren't. I know that I can tell by your head that, it's probably a comment you've had. We tend to get excited. You're an excitable guy, I can tell. And you just got excited in it and just kind of launched and went in. And I think that you were just right on the money to start. I really did. And staying in that was good. And then I think the second half needed a bit more emotional changes. There's a bit more, not intimacy is probably not exactly the right word, but just a little bit more emotional things that are going on in that second part that would have helped you as well a little bit more to marry the two together. But I really love you in narration, actually. I do. I think it's a good home for you. Just maybe need some massaging.
First of all, I just want to say, Chad, thank you for your service.
Yes.
And I also want to say, wonderful. I think there were some nerves involved in you, which clicks us into a speed, and then we accelerate in the same speed. So the speed over tonally becomes the same. You've obviously know what you're doing. You've already obviously got a great sense of, I feel that nerves were involved. Remember the wonder. Everything that we talk about for an audience must be filled with wonder. It should be wonderful. And if we're sort of forgetting and just stating from a place of script-oriented stuff, it takes us out of it. So remember the field where your audience lives and give us that kind of awe and that wonder. And I think it'll help you land your nerves, breathe into that wonder like, oh, and then you're going to kind of hit down on it. But, like I say, you obviously know what you're doing. You're great.
Good stuff.
Thank you,
everybody.
Chad.
Thanks, Chad.
For those of you sitting around at home watching, having a good time, I hope, because our next contestant is about to get Mike.
Sarah Borges.
All right, Sarah, you're up.
Hi. I'm Sarah. I was raised in Seattle, trained over here in London as an actor, and I've been here ever since, many moons. His fists were already curled and ready. He planned to wait on the street, follow Sam for a block or two, then beat the shit out of him. But he heard her crying. He was turned toward the street, his body braced, his mind full of violence. She was crying, as if her heart were broken, curled up on a stone bench by the doormat azaleas. Perhaps if she'd been given to tears, Luke could have ignored it and gone about his business. But in all the years he'd lived with the Nouvelles, he'd never once heard Roxanne cry since her bout with chickenpox. The sound of it reached inside and took him by the heart. Come on, Roxy. Awkward and out of his depth, Luke walked to the bench and patted her head. Don't do that. She kept her face pressed against his knees and sobbed. Jesus. However reluctant he was, Luke found himself sitting beside her and drawing her into his arms. Come on, baby. Don't let him make you cry like this. He's a bastard, a freaking creep. He sighed and rocked, and found himself gradually calming. He's not worth it, he said half to himself, realizing Mouse's words had been right on target. He used me, Roxanne murmured against Luke's chest. She had control of her sobbing now, and nearly felt strong enough to stop the tears. He pretended to be my friend, but he never was. He used me to take things from people I cared about. I heard what he said to Daddy. It was like he hated us. Like he'd hated us all along. Maybe he did. What do we care?
Lobsterman.
Sarah, again, good storyteller. It's obviously something that genre you've worked on in the past. There's some good acting in there. Your sound for this copy again suits it very, very well. I was craving a little more personal engagement. It felt like a voice actor doing a good job going through a script, and I wanted to lose myself in the characters a little bit more than I found myself doing. You have the misfortune of being compared against a couple of other people who've done this script so far, so it's hard to not take into account other reads that we've heard to some degree, but it was a fairly strong effort. Pacing was maybe a little bit quick in places. It was a little bright in places for me, for the emotional content of the copy. I thought I heard doormat azaleas instead of dormant azaleas, but that could have just been my ear picking something up. It's really close. I just want a little more connection.
Now from Austin, Texas.
That would be me. I would like for you to work on your slate a little bit. Couldn't tell if you were just coming into the room or it was a slate. It felt like, I don't know, be a little more punchy, a little more fun. That's just my personal opinion on the slate. To me, the pace felt a little bit announcery. You were like emphasizing certain things and then you'd back up. And so it felt a little bit of announcery, a little slow, then real fast, then slow. I will say you had one of the best transitions I've heard of being in your announcer to your character. Announcer and to the character. That was really clear what you were trying to do. Unfortunately for me, in some of the characters, you felt out of character. So if you're going to step into the guy or going to step into the child or whoever it is, make sure you own it through all of the copy. So I felt like there's a little bit of transition there. But, great read. I mean, your drama is awesome. Just need to home in on some of those spots. Well done.
Yeah, I think that's a good comment to launch off of, is your drama is awesome. You have this, you have a really creative brain. I love your creativity. And unfortunately, I remember all of your auditions, so they're all in me right now as I critique you, because I just know how much creativity you have. I would have loved a little more intimacy in the beginning, even though it was aggressive. I liked where I got your choices. I think that's what I want to compliment you with, is I got your choices. And you made some really fantastic choices. They maybe just were a little bit shown instead of more relaxed in, perhaps. And I think that might be the key, because I do love how much choices you made. You made lots. You gave me a story. You took me through things. I do like how you switch between characters. There's something very gravitating about you that I'm actually gravitated in you. But I feel actually almost not the same for almost everybody, but the first paragraph for me just feels no one's really quite connected to me the way I think I would have put, because I'm a voice talent, the way I would approach it. Well, look at me, But I think that you are just a brilliant talent. I really do.
I applaud you for your discovery, your opinion, your emotional connectedness to character. I felt there was possibly a bit of nerves, just a little bit, which coming off the slate, you dropped in beautifully at the end. You aspirated at the end of your slate. And I wanted you to just take a moment for your once upon a time. I'm hearing a lot tonight, people racing into the beginning, their opener. There's a prologue and an epilogue to every audition, and everybody wants to, because there's that moment of like, I've got to do the read. And then by the time they get to the end, they start to settle, right? So go to the end first, do your last line first, and then in your mind and start. I just felt there was just a bit of nerves. For me, I thought you covered every thought to self. There was like a warble in the emotion, which is, you can't, to fabricate that, it shows. And you had it there. You had right at the end a beautiful breathiness. And I just think you were a bit of nerves for making this through to bed. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Waiting patiently, but not in the ER. Our next auditioner is
Thomas Prater.
All right, Thomas, you're up. You might be muted, Thomas.
Thomas might be in transit.
Oh, he's in transit still? Thanks, Anna.
It's time for a song, Elley Ray.
This is it. Hit the lights. What am I? The night of nights. We're rehearsing.
Your part. J. Michael Collins is sharp. He'll eat your lobster and kill it dead, but...
But that's okay. He's got an enormous head.
Oh, we are creative. Thomas is in the room. This is what you don't do, folks. Folks at home. Folks at home, this is what you don't do. You don't give a whole bunch of voice talent an open microphone. You just don't do that.
I just want to say a nice hello to my friend Lizette.
Let's unmic you there. Oh, yes, of course. Let's unmic you. Unmute you there, Thomas. You're up.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Which script are you doing first? Which script are you doing first?
I'm doing script number 3 first.
Number 3 it is. Awesome.
Thomas Prater. His fists were already curled and ready. He planned to wait on the street, follow Sam for a block or two, then beat the shit out of him. But he heard her crying. He was turned toward the street, his body braced, his mind full of violence. She was crying as if her heart were broken, curled up on a stone bench by the dormant azaleas. Perhaps if she'd been given to tears, Luke could have ignored it and gone about his business. But in all the years he'd lived with the Novelles, he'd never once heard Roxanne cry since her bout with the chicken pox. The sound of it reached inside and took him by the heart. Come on, Roxy. Awkward and out of his depth, Luke walked to the bench and patted her head. Don't do that. She kept her face pressed against her knees and sobbed. Jesus. However reluctant he was, Luke found himself sitting beside her and drawing her into his arms. Come on, baby. Don't let him make you cry like this. He's a bastard, a freaking creep. He sighed and rocked and found himself gradually calming. He's not worth it, he said half to himself, realizing Mouse's words had been right on target. He used me, Roxanne murmured against Luke's chest. She had control over the sobbing now, and nearly felt strong enough to stop the tears. He pretended to be my friend, but he never was. He used me to take things from people I cared about. I heard what he said to Daddy. It was like he hated us, like he'd hated us all along. Maybe he did. What do we care?
Oh. My favorite part about that read, Thomas, was the fact that you had a couple little verbal disconnects at the beginning. Your eyes seemed to kind of come off the copy, and it caused you to wobble a little bit, and it didn't throw you off. You got right back on the horse, and your read continued to get stronger and stronger and stronger as it went along. Your slate was, I don't really care as much about the slates as some of the other judges do, but your slate was interesting to me because the read that you gave me was completely different than what I expected after I heard your slate. I didn't expect to like your read after I heard your slate, and I wound up loving your read. What I'm craving with this script is somebody who sounds like they identify with what the characters are going through and that they understand their trauma. You brought that home and made me believe that you do, and I love your read. Great job.
Wow. I was totally in your read with you. I was seeing what you were saying. And I mean, yeah, there were some hiccups at the beginning, and there were some hiccups about the chicken pox to me, things that I heard where there was bumps in the road. But your differentiation between the narrator and those characters, I was crying with that little girl. I was consoling with the dude. I thought you just did a to me. It was well done. Get your smoothness going and all the kind of stuff. But that's nerves. Look, I mean, my God, you're performing in live. You're not getting to hide behind a cell. So and everybody's suffering that. So you all get kudos, a vibe. But I was totally engaged in that read. I closed my eyes and went with it. So, yahoo! Bravo.
Awesome, Thomas. I should share with everybody, Thomas is a newbie. He's a newbie. He's a beautiful, emotive guy who just throws you for a loop when that little slate comes out and you're hearing this bright, beautiful, happy, bouncy guy, and he just gets into emotion. So it's a beautiful thing, Thomas. So congratulate yourself for that. For me, I think that the narrator stayed in too much of an awe in that beginning part. So that whole first section to me was the narrator was just in awe like the whole time. And so I just would encourage you not to stay in. I actually wanted you to do it right after the first couple words. The script's down now, unfortunately, but right after the first couple words, I would love to have a shift change for your narrator right there to add to that, because it was staying in that awe, and unfortunately just kind of stayed there for the rest of the time. So just watch that. I mean, just in that beginning part, and then you got to that second half. What can I say, man? I was there. It was beautiful. Like, did you hear his girl cry? Oh my God. I just wanted to cry. It was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. Yeah, Thomas, just great character work. This is not an easy script. If I feel a tingle and I literally hold my breath for a second, something's happening. And I held my breath. I went, oh, and I'm an actor. And if you can connect to me that there's great things happening. There's this earnest, that being said, with the nerves and everything, as we know, there's an earnest integrity that you brought to the narrator that anticipates the emotion of the characters. Just be aware of that. The narrator doesn't emotionally start to go into that place. You want to slightly allow your narrator to comment, almost like an announcer. Yes, you're emotionally engaged, but beware of it bleeding. I felt that you were kind of maybe a little bit going towards the emotion of the dad and the girl. And that's where the earnest integrity I feel about what I'm talking about. The narrator doesn't have to do that. Show me that on the characters, because your character work is off the chart. You don't have to do anything else.
Good job.
Thank you, Thomas. Shall we go all the way across the pond and living the dream?
Michael Paladine.
Michael, you're up. What script did you choose first before you introduce yourself?
I will be doing the documentary script first.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
My name is Michael Paladine from Brooklyn, New York. Good evening. All around the world, mountains are on the rise. And in a few places that can happen more swiftly, like the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Weyrich. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding off a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway due to the panoramic view.
Thank you, Michael. I'm almost kind of taking the script and setting it aside a little bit and just listening to the quality of your narration. I don't hear you getting hired for that show. But I can hear you getting hired for many things. I think your voice has a visceral authenticity to it. You're confident without having too much bravado and sounding like you're trying too hard. There's an easy flow to the narration. There's a certainty to your words, and there's a paintbrush of storytelling in there that's a very nice thing to listen to. I wouldn't hire you for that script, but I'd certainly hire you for a crime doc, for a biography, for a sports doc. A lot of different things out there that you could do really, really well. And so I'm going to judge you just on the quality of your read and not on the copy. And I think it was very good.
I mean, your voice was very authoritative. You did take a lead in the direction you took with your read. I love the graveliness in your voice. I was almost hoping that you were going to do it with you. I guess it's your Brooklyn normal. You know, I kind of wanted to hear that because I loved it. That's how you slayed it, and you just didn't. You took a little bit of a turn. I also think I heard a little Texas in there, and I don't know if that was you trying to have an accent, not have an accent, smooth it out, not smooth it out. But your highs and your lows were engaging. I'm going to agree with J. Michael. You know, read me a crime doc. I'd be all in because I think you could scare the shit out of me. Excuse me. You could make me, you know, because
I'm from Brooklyn, Liz. No offense.
We all swear.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I want to hear him say, and that's why they called him Freddie Two Fingers.
That's why they call him Freddie Two Fingers.
Yeah.
I'm to the Bronx, Michael.
Yeah. Don't ever, keep that voice and pound it through your auditions. Throw it for a second read. It's terrific. So anyway, it's dramatically you got, or you know, here's the thing, I'm expecting drama and you're really telling me about tectonic plates, so maybe that's the dichotomy, but you know, your voice is fabulous.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, you know what was interesting is I was kind of craving you to add some sarcasm to the script, even though it might not seem like you would do that with this kind of script, but I was like, okay, actually, I'm kind of liking this if you would add a little more play, which is kind of weird because this isn't a script I would typically say be playful, but I think we're attracted to your accent, your attitude, your confidence, your play. There's more play in you. Like when you were just sliding through jelly and stuff, I would have liked a little more play from you there because I think I appreciated, though, the fact that you were really trying to stay in somewhere neutral for the documentary here in this particular situation. I really respect that, and I like that you're playing around with both sides of it. But just know most of us are going to crave your, you know. And I like what J. Michael said is that, you know, that's where I would cast you. I would put you in a lot of blue collar fun things and add lots of sarcasm. I want your sarcasm, and I think it would have been really fun in this script. Actually, I think I would have really enjoyed it, which is interesting because it would have put it almost like kid-like, but not, almost like older teens, which is where I think would be harder because of the wording here. I don't think it's for younger kids, but I like that it could have an in-between here based on the way you approached it with just a little more play for me.
Okay.
Michael Paladine, I love your voice, and your voice is a character. So Brooklyn is a character, and when I hear it, I immediately go to a character, and that's my fault because my frame of reference craves a certain, it just associates a different thing. And it's a voice that I, in Canada, try to replicate all the time when I want to do character work and when I want to show something. So I feel that when you came off your slate, it was wonderful because you're vocally very neat. And because of your unique personality, I agree with J. Michael. This script is, no, I didn't listen to the script. I listened to your voice and I go, your voice is of the genre of voiceover. You are a storyteller. You have got great chops, and I'm really looking forward to your second read because I love it. Use it for me.
If I may say, I was looking at this strictly as a, you know, just looking at it more in a more serious manner. I probably could have gone a little sarcastic with this, but I was just looking at this like, hey, it's nature,
We agree.
It
That's
is
the way
what
it
it
should
is.
have been
Yeah,
approached,
right.
but there's just something unique about you that makes us go, oh, well, maybe that's a different thought, right? Good job,
Well,
Michael.
perhaps you and J. Michael can go out to Brooklyn and murder a few lobsters.
Don't ever
he
ask me
can,
about
I'll
my
watch.
business, Mr.
Yeah, that's
Mike.
it. That's it.
Well, Cracker Jacks, Peanuts, and a Prize. This is our last audition for this section, and I say, who is our next
Joanne Lichtenstein.
Greetings. Joanne Lichtenstein, coming to you live from beautiful Burbank, California.
Woohoo!
Woohoo. And what script are you working on first, Joanne?
I'm doing the audiobook script.
Awesome. Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
His fists were already curled and ready. He planned to wait on the street, follow Sam for a block or two, then beat the shit out of him. But he heard her crying. He was turned toward the street, his body braced, his mind full of violence. She was crying as if her heart were broken, curled up on a stone bench by the dormant azaleas. Perhaps if she'd been given to tears, Luke could have ignored it and gone about his business. But in all the years he'd lived with the Nouvelles, he'd never once heard Roxanne cry since her bout with chickenpox. The sound of it reached inside and took him by the heart. Come on, Roxy. Awkward and out of his depth, Luke walked to the bench and patted her head. Don't do that. She kept her face pressed against her knees and sobbed. Jesus. However reluctant he was, Luke found himself sitting beside her and drawing her into his arms. Come on, baby. Don't let him make you cry like this. He's a bastard, a freaking creep. He sighed and rocked and found himself gradually calming. He's not worth it, he said, half to himself, realizing Mouse's words had been right on target. He used me, Roxanne murmured against Luke's chest. She had control of the sobbing now and nearly felt strong enough to stop the tears. He pretended to be my friend, but he never was. He used me to take things from people I cared about. I heard what he said to Daddy. It was like he hated us, like he'd hated us all along. Maybe he did. What do we care?
Nice. Good stuff, Joanne. There are a couple things I really love in there. I think the thing I really like the most is your ability to move into those characters, just with the accent play. You're giving me believable American, which is pretty good, and the first time I heard it was entirely unexpected. So kudos on you. That was a really strong play there. There's a consistency to your read that is very nice, and very polished and very professional. It also perhaps left me feeling like it was a little vanilla for the content in places. I've said this to one or two other contestants tonight, which is that I was craving a little more identification with the trauma of the characters. And while I think you did a good job bringing them to life with the accent play, I'm not entirely sure I believed you. And that for me lost me just a little bit there. The beat the shit line, I think that could use again a little bit more sort of visceral unexpectedness. And that didn't surprise me as much as I would have liked it to. But I mean, you're strong. Couple of little notes in there, but good stuff. Thank you, Joe.
I really loved the dramatic prose of your narrator. I felt like your narrator was his own or her own character until toward the end, and the narrator started blending to me a little bit with the characters, and I wasn't able to get just an easy discerning between the two. But the narrator, especially you came out strong to me, was really good at setting the stage for what was going to be happening. But I would just encourage you to not lose the character differentiation. As for the characters themselves, they weren't as strong for me, I guess, as the narrator. I kind of wanted them to be a little bit more dramatically emphatic or something. I wanted to feel them and hear them and see them a little bit more than they were. But kudos to you, because you gave it a good try to make sure that everything had its place. And of course your pace was great and all that kind of stuff. Again, great narration.
For me, the opening was my favorite so far because I really loved how you drew me into the story. I was in the story with you in the beginning, and I felt you connected to the narrator really well. And so I reiterate what everybody said that in that regard. I loved your narrator, but I do agree. I think the only notes I started writing down, and I think I was so engaged and excited by your opening that I stopped paying attention as much to the narrator and started listening to your characters. And what I hear that maybe could be constructive for you is they just stayed in the same place. Luke stayed in the exact same place, and then so did she. So because it just stayed in the same place, it didn't have much movement. So every time he came back in, it was a beautiful connection. Like, Come On, Roxy was a good connection. But then Don't Do That sounded the same as Jesus, which, so just watch those variations. But oh my gosh, if I could only switch from a British accent to an English accent to another female to a male and all that stuff within that time frame. Amazing that you do that. I would just add a little more layers to the characters. That's all. Just a little more storyline for them. That's what was missing for me.
Joanne, I loved it. You're obviously very talented, really strong, and what you bring to the table is what audiences will be engaged with. I mean, we're obviously dealing with people that are talented. It's directable at this point for me. All you need is the accent switching. If you watch the first episode, we are drawn to the English ear to so have a narrator that's got a British accent and then have American characters there right away is top marks for me. Yes, I wanted some more emotional depth in the female, and all that is sitting in it. And when your nerves are at play, you're being pulled through your copy pretty quickly, and you're trying to get on top of your emotional depth. And that takes the moment to just allow yourself the time to sit in it, because I feel that your characters could emotionally grow a little bit more. But the speed with which the narrator and our nerves bring us to it will just pull us out of it a bit when you're in a show like this. So I just go, kudos for all of your talents in the switching. And I put wonder around since the bout with chickenpox. So
yeah, some great stuff.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you at home for sticking with us. But don't go away. There's more to come after this short commercial break from one of the greatest guys I know, the lobster murderer himself.
As humanity begins to emerge from one of its greatest challenges, we are here to once again show you just how far we can carry you.
Okay, you don't have a portfolio. What you do have is 2 kids, a job, and a side hustle. You're getting by and don't want to compromise on quality.
Hoy en día todos pueden saber tu nombre, tu fecha de nacimiento, a qué hora te levantas, qué comes, qué alergias tienes, cuánto pesas. Saben absolutamente todo.
Check out your favorite artists, performances, picks, latest music news and interviews online now.
This course is dedicated to educating associates at all levels on the topic of bias. Please click the arrow to begin Module 1. What is bias?
It's about goals, breaking barriers you never thought possible. Being fit, that's just extra.
Hey, it's JMC, and I just wanted to say thank you for being a part of Get Mic'd, the voiceover industry's only American Idol-style competition show. Now back to the madness of Elley, Ray, and Deb.
4, 3, 2, and you're live.
This is the kind of show where you watch the commercials.
Now, I have to give a little note here. Do we have a surprise for each and every one of the Ultimate VO Survivor contestants in all 3 of our categories? Right now, it's time to announce one of our mysterious grand prizes worth over how much, Elley? $7,000. Yep. Did you guess it? Aha! These 2 wild and crazy ladies have something so big in store for you, courtesy of Hale Kaimu. So, are you ready for this? Are you ready? Do you like it like this? Oh, no, that's a different thing. It's a magnificent free trip to Hawaii, folks, which includes a 7-day stay at Hale Kaimu Orchid Farm in Pahoa, Hawaii. Or do we say Hawaii? I don't know. I've never been there. It includes an airfare voucher courtesy of Get Mic'd. Oh, I love you guys. But wait, there is more to announce for this grand prize, so keep watching each week as we tell you more. Thank you, Hale Kaimu. Now, back to the show.
Now I'm going to show you guys the final clue so you guys can see it. For those of you in social media land, you've been watching our clues that Amanda put together. Some amazing little production. Watch this. Those at home.
The ultimate VO survivor. Take 2. Grand prize reveal. The answer. A Hawaiian vacation with flight voucher. Brought to you by Heio Kaimu Tropical Jungle Pleasures. Be sure to like and follow Get Mic'd on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook for more details.
You guys didn't get to see it, but the Get Mic'd plane was in that. We have a Get Mic'd plane. We have our own plane, Elley. We have our own plane. And my husband can fly it.
Plane. What?
Okay, anyway. Back to you, Mr. Mike.
Am I on?
You're on.
Well, this is fantastic because, I haven't had this much fun since I went bowling at Strikers Lanes Bowling Alley in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and was put in the local jail lockup overnight for throwing overhand. But I did bowl a 116. That's true, JFC.
Oh, my gosh.
I gotta tell you, I'm watching these folks, and it makes you want to be a voice actor, doesn't it? Hi, everybody.
Yeah. Woohoo!
What an incredible first round. But just when you thought it was safe to use the facilities, get back here, Liz. Kapow! Round 2 is coming at you live from the Get Mic'd website portal and Facebook Live. So sit back and cheer on your favorite VO for documentary reads. I'm going to fade the music. Come on, Jimmy, fade it out, you silly. Never mind. He just crapped the bed. That's Elley playing.
But did he sit in it?
I don't know. I've never been there. Thank you, JMC. So, Deb, are we ready for our
We are ready, guys. We're going to shove you back into that room, and Mr. Mike is going to call you up randomly one at a time. Okay. And you're going to read your next scripts, but you will not get direction this time. So you're all in the room. We've got you all kind of hanging out. Even some of our tech and some of our guest judges are here as well. Cliff's in the house. Hey, Ellen's in the house. We'll be a fun bunch of... Maybe I should find a better immersive. Let's shove us in a classroom. Why don't we shove us in a classroom or something fun? Here, we're all going to school, guys. Here we go. We went to school.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, no. For a short moment, we were all on top of your face. It was amazing.
I get to be the teacher today.
I'm going to shoot a spitball at Amanda.
Okay, Mr. Mike, you better take over before it's much too late.
Here we go. First up, we're going to call on Sarah Borges.
All right, Sarah, what's your second script? Which one are you doing now?
It's the second one, the documentary.
Awesome. Nice. All right, folks, we'll block some of you out in the room there for the folks at home so they can see the script. Whenever you're ready, Sarah.
All around the world, mountains are on the rise. And in a few places, this can happen more swiftly, like in the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Weyrich. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide, because it moves along a subsurface plane, like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway, due to the panoramic view.
Thank you, Sarah.
Woo-hoo!
Next
All right,
in line,
Sarah.
that is fine. Let's call on John Meissner.
All right,
Hello,
John.
hello.
Okay, I'm just going to switch up the views here. Just give me one sec, John. We're going to go into gallery view and watch you guys speaking.
It's
All
a room
right.
with you.
So whenever you're ready, my friend.
All right, and we're doing narration script.
Narration.
Great.
In an all-out effort to clean up the city streets, San Francisco's Public Works Department inaugurated Operation Scrub Down. 3 times a day, city workers move through a 30-block area, cleaning the pavement with high-pressure hoses, rousting squatters, and taking away shopping carts filled with refuse and personal belongings. Operation Scrub Down is the brainchild of Mohammed Nuru, a Nigerian who worked for years as an advocate for San Francisco's homeless. and who says he believes you don't help people by encouraging them to live on the streets. Munro says his crews remove between 200 and 500 carts from the streets every day. This is John Meissner reporting.
Thank you, John. Glowing in the booth next to John, well, technically not in the booth anymore, here's Joanne Lichtenstein.
Oh, that's me. Okay. I'm doing documentary.
Awesome. No problem. You guys don't have to tell me the scripts now. We're going to show your guys' view instead of the scripts at home. You'll be good. Go ahead anytime you're ready.
All around the world, mountains are on the rise. And in a few places, this can happen more swiftly, like the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Wyrick. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway due to the panoramic view.
Thank you, Joanne.
Awesome.
Our next fab performer is Craig Williams.
Cool, I'm doing script 1. Awesome. Things are getting bad. In an all-out effort to clean up the city's streets, San Francisco's Public Works Department inaugurated Operation Scrub Down. 3 times a day, city workers move through a 30-block area, cleaning the pavement with high-pressure hoses, rousting squatters, and taking away shopping carts filled with refuse and personal belongings. Operation Scrub Down is the brainchild of Mohammed Munro, a Nigerian who worked for years as an advocate for San Francisco's homeless, and who says he believes you don't help people by encouraging them to live on the streets. Munro says his crews remove between 200 and 500 carts from the streets every day.
Awesome.
Thank you, Craig. Give it the goods with Stephanie Nemeth-Parker.
Go, Steph.
His fists were already curled and ready. He planned to wait on the street, follow Sam for a block or two, then beat the shit out of him. But he heard her crying. He was turned toward the street, his body braced, his mind full of violence. She was crying as if her heart were broken, curled up on a stone bench by the dormant azaleas. Perhaps if she'd been given to tears, Luke could have ignored it and gone about his business. But in all the years he'd lived with the Nouvelles, he'd never once heard Roxanne cry since her bout with chickenpox. The sound of it reached inside and took him by the heart. "Come on, Roxy." Awkward and out of his depth, Luke walked to the bench and patted her head. "Don't do that." She kept her face pressed against her knees and sobbed. Jesus. However reluctant he was, Luke found himself sitting beside her and drawing her into his arms. "Come on, baby. Don't let him make you cry like this. He's a bastard, a freaking creep." He sighed and rocked and found himself gradually calming. "He's not worth it," he said half to himself, realizing Mouse's words had been right on target. "He used me," Roxanne murmured against Luke's chest. She had control of the sobbing now, and nearly felt strong enough to stop the tears. "He pretended to be my friend, but he never was. He used me to take things from people I cared about." I heard what he said to Daddy. It was like he hated us. Like he'd hated us all along. Maybe he did. What do we care?
Woohoo!
Thank you, Stephanie. Power to the pipes. Here is Thomas Prater.
Say hi, Thomas. Maybe you're muted.
Oh.
There you go.
Thomas Prater. All around the world, mountains are on the rise. And in a few places, this can happen more swiftly, like the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophes. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Weyrich. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide, because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, and choose to live here anyway due to the panoramic view.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas.
Let's give it up for Chad William Fischer.
Woo-hoo.
Hey everybody, Chad William Fischer reading script number 2. All around the world, mountains are on the rise, and in a few places this can happen more swiftly, like the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Weyrich. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide, because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway due to the panoramic view.
Thank you,
Awesome,
Chad.
Chad. Woo!
This next person even has a V and an O in his name. Here's Stephen Vlahos.
Woohoo!
Hey folks, this is Stephen Vlahos again, reading the audiobook script. His fists were already curled and ready. He planned to wait on the street, follow Sam for a block or two, and then beat the shit out of him. But he heard her crying. He was turned toward the street, his body braced, his mind full of violence. She was crying as if her heart were broken, curled up on a stone bench by the dormant azaleas. Perhaps as she'd been given to tears, Luke could have ignored it and gone about his business. But in all the years he'd lived with the Nouvelles, he'd never once heard Roxanne cry since her bout with chickenpox. The sound of it reached inside and took him by the heart. Come on, Roxy. Awkward and out of his depth, Luke walked to the bench and patted her head. Don't do that. She kept her face pressed against her knees and sobbed. Jesus. However reluctant he was, Luke found himself sitting beside her and drawing her into his arms. Come on, baby, don't let him make you cry like this. He's a bastard, a freaking creep. He sighed and rocked and found himself gradually calming. He's not worth it, he said half to himself, realizing Mouse's words had been right on target. He used me, Roxanne murmured against Luke's chest. She had control of the sobbing now, and nearly felt strong enough to stop the tears. He pretended to be my friend, but he never was. He used me to take things from people I cared about. I heard what he said to Daddy. It was like he hated us. Like he'd hated us all along. Maybe he did. What do we care?
Woohoo!
Thank you, Stephen. Now, all the way from the great Republic of Brooklyn, give it up for Michael Paladine.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll be reading the narration script. This is Michael Paladine on location. In an all-out effort to clean up the city's streets, San Francisco's Public Works Department inaugurated Operation Scrubdown. 3 times a day, city workers moved through a 30-block area, cleaning the pavement with high-pressure hoses, rousting squatters, and taking away shopping carts filled with refuse and personal belongings. Operation Scrubdown is the brainchild of Mohammed Nuru, a Nigerian who worked for years as an advocate for San Francisco's homeless, and who says he believes you don't help people by encouraging them to live on the streets. Nuru says his crews remove between 200 and 500 carts from the streets every day.
Thank you, Michael. Woo!
Ow!
And like the Energizer Buddy, here is Vijayan Menon.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Yes, good morning.
I'm doing script 1. In an all-out effort to clean up the city's streets, San Francisco's Public Works Department inaugurated Operation Scrubdown. 3 times a day, city workers moved through a 30-block area, cleaning the pavement with high-pressure hoses, rousting squatters, and taking away shopping carts filled with refuse and personal belongings. Operation Scrubdown is the brainchild of Mohammed Nuru, a Nigerian who worked for years as an advocate for San Francisco's homeless, and who says he believes you don't help people by encouraging them to live on the streets. Nuru says his crews remove between 200 and 500 carts from the streets every day.
Woohoo! At
Thank
6
you,
a.m.
Vijayan. Well, where there's a way, there's a Will Reierson.
So original. You're good. You're good, Mr.
Hello,
Mike.
everybody.
I'm fast. Let me know.
Will Reierson. In an all-out effort to clean up the city's streets, San Francisco's Public Works Department inaugurated Operation Scrubdown. 3 times a day, city workers move through a 30-block area, cleaning the pavement with high-pressure hoses, rousting squatters, and taking away shopping carts filled with refuse and personal belongings. Operation Scrubdown is the brainchild of Mohammed Nuru, a Nigerian who worked for years as an advocate for San Francisco's homeless, and who says he believes you don't help people by encouraging them to live on the streets. Nuru says his crews remove between 200 and 500 carts from the streets every day.
Ow!
And who can forget the vocal stylings of Joe Pickard?
Woohoo! Thank you, Mr. Mike. Live from a potato farm in the UK, it is Joe Pickard. All around the world, mountains are on the rise, and in a few places this can happen more swiftly, like the highly populated Southern California, where shifting tectonic plates can cause periodic catastrophe. Each earthquake raises the mountains a few inches, sometimes feet, which makes the place a mecca for geothermologists like Dr. Frank Weyrich. But the mountains here are falling as fast as they are rising. Days of rain sometimes trigger a disaster called a rotational slide, because it moves along a subsurface plane like jelly sliding from a spoon. In this small town, along the coastline, most residents were warned of the dangers before moving in, but chose to live here anyway, due to the panoramic view.
Thank you, Joe. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Looks like our judging team wants to throw you a curveball. This group of talent were given a script and a scalpel just a moment ago, so they had no time to prepare. It's like a cesarean section without the baby, so it's going to be fun. It's medical narration. Holy snap!
Yeah.
Oh my God. Real.
My fault. It's my fault.
Right in the wheelhouse.
Kept trying to find the word efficacy, and you know what they say about that. This is one category for you folks at home that is a monster in the world of narration. Now, let's see what these talent have got.
Uh-oh. You going to call them in random order there, Mr. Mike?
I'm ready.
All right.
Are y'all ready? Do you have it in front of you?
Good luck, folks.
All right, I'm on do this like Liz.
So just remember, this is for fun. Have some fun, guys.
That's why I'm having
they've had
fun,
no
damn it.
time with it.
I'm gonna stab somebody in the eye with a lobster. All right, here we go. Calling up first, Stephen Vlahos.
I knew it. I knew it. Okay. It is likely that loss of O glycos. Hello. It is likely that loss of O-glycosylation at THR-178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia.
Not bad.
Nitromethylidine trimethanol azodiocarbonamide.
Can I quickly point out that mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 are also not terribly nice to eat.
Nice. With that, I'm going to call on Craig Williams. Go on.
Craig Williams, I'm the Scotsman who doesn't like whiskey. I'm like a unicorn. It is likely that the loss of O-glycosylation at THR-178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia, and nitrothermidine trimethanol azodicarbonamide.
This is why I don't do medical.
Easy for you to say. Thank you, Craig.
Nice job.
Coming up next, are you ready, Stephanie Nemeth-Parker?
Stephanie Nemeth-Parker, your Swiss miss for the night.
Ow.
Well.
It is likely that loss of O-glycosylation at THR-178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. Nitromethylidine trimethanol azodicarbonamide.
Oh, that was almost perfect. Nice job, sweetie. Nice job.
I was high on trimethanol once, but not that. Let's hear from Vijayan Menon.
Good morning, everybody. Again, I'm back again with the medical script. It is likely that loss of O-glycosylation at THR-178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia, and nitromethylidine trimethanol azodicarbonamide.
Woohoo! At 6 a.m. Nice job.
Thank you, Vijayan. Next up, Joe Pickard.
Joe Pickard, who definitely failed science but got an A star in blagging it, so let's go for it. It's likely that loss of O-glycylation at THR-178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor -23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor -23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor -23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. And for fun, nitromethylidine trimethanol azodicarbonamide. Oh!
Nice close. That was a great close.
Pass it around the room, and then we'll get to hear from John Meissner.
Medical Officer John Meissner, reporting, stardate 4375.3. It is likely that loss of O-glycanization at through 178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. nitromethylidine, trimethanol, and aziodicarbonide.
Woo!
Is it data or data?
That was
I
the way
don't
you
know.
say it.
Thank you, John.
Ow.
Next up, let's go to Thomas Prater.
My name is Thomas Prater, and I'm just gonna do this. It is likely that loss of O-glycosylation at THR 178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. Phosphatiemia. Yes. And for fun, I'm just gonna try nitromethylidine, trimethanol, azodicarbonide, bibinamide.
Elley,
Oh, Elley, you're cruel.
Evil, Thomas. Evil.
I'm sorry.
All right, let's see if Chad William Fischer can hit it.
Maybe he can. Chad William Fischer, hi. I like Pokemon, woodworking, and medical narration.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
It is likely that loss of O-glycosylation at THR 178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. Nitromethylidine, trimethanol, azodicarbonide.
Wow, this is
He
what
just
happens
took all
when
the
you
fun
live-
out of it. He just
when
took
you
all the
live
fun
in
out of it.
the-
Now it's not funny anymore.
When you live on a submarine, that's what happens.
That was awesome, man. Nice job.
Thank you, Chad. Joanne Lichtenstein, are you ready?
I'm ready. This is just cruel.
Yeah.
I know.
It is likely that the loss of O-glycosylation at THR 178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. And, for fun, nitromethylidine, trimethanol, azodicarbonide.
Good
Thank you,
morning.
Joanne. All right, let's hear from Brooklyn Michael Paladine.
Woohoo.
The doctor is in. I discovered that it is likely that loss of O-glycosylation of THR 178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Now, mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. Not to mention nitromethylidine, trimethanol, azodicarbonide.
Whoa!
I want him to be my doctor.
It's
Yeah,
like
you
a,
can be my
like
doctor,
a
Michael.
doctor from The Sopranos.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I want that doctor.
And now I'd like to call on Sarah Borges.
Woohoo.
Good morning. It's 2 a.m.
Oh my God, you're doing amazing, Sarah.
Should be fun.
Nothing like a global competition to wake you up.
It is likely that loss of O-glycosylation at THR 178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. And for fun, nitromethylidine, trimethanol, azodicarbonide, Bonamide.
That was it.
Thank you,
We
Sarah.
love our job. You guys out in TV land, you got to know that we get scripts like this, like whether it's medical or not, just jargon. Just because they write copy doesn't mean they're good at it necessarily. So we get mouthfuls, man. Mouthfuls.
Well,
Nice
last
job.
but not least, let's hear from Will Reierson.
Woohoo!
Hello, it's Will Reierson, and this is a medical script. It is likely that loss of O-glycosylation at THR-178 increases susceptibility of fibroblast growth factor 23 to proteolytic degeneration, resulting in low serum levels of fibroblast growth factor 23. My God! Mice that completely lack fibroblast growth factor 23 develop severe phosphate retention phenotypes, characterized by extensive soft tissue calcification and hyperphosphatemia. Oh no! There's more! Nitromethylamine, trimethanol, azonocarbonamide, and oh no! Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious!
Way to close the show, man.
It's like he inhaled Peter Dixon.
That was stellar. Oh my God, Will, that was fun.
Awesome. You guys are so awesome. Awesome.
That was fantastic. Thank you all. Well, we did it, folks.
Yes. Congratulations, everyone. Truly amazeball, including O-glycosylation. You made the judge's job very difficult right now. Hey, all right. It's time to finalize your votes, dear judges, even through proteolytic degeneration. So go to your scorecards, check your notes, and make your final decision. The blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of sweat, by the way, all comes down to this moment where the totals shall be tallied, and the top scored points will determine our winner, who will suffer from hyperphosphatemia and will walk away with the ultimate prize. Give us your thoughts, folks at home. We'd love to hear from you. And just to keep you committed to the show each week, we will announce the winners who will attend the grand finale November 24th, following our animation episode. Watch for our winning announcement to be posted November 18th. Yeah, sneaky little devils, aren't they? So stay tuned and let's give everyone a big hand for an absolutely incredible job in the voice realm. Sheer magic. Woo-hoo. From everyone here at the Virtual Skypod, this is Get Mic'd and the entire team of the Ultimate VO Survivor Take 2, signing off and wishing everyone to stay safe and stay creative. See you at the mic, or if you want to help JMC murder a few lobster, you can contact him at lobstersareus.com. For the Get Mike team, I'm Mr. Mike.
Thanks,
See
Mr.
you.
Mike. Woohoo!
We're back. The Ultimate VO Survivor. Take 2.
And we're out.
Look at our incredible lineup of sponsors. Get Mic'd, JMC Demos, One Voice USA, Cast Voices, Mark Grau, Tony Daniels, Gravy for the Brain, Voice Acting Academy, Dan Leonard, Voiceover Extra, Smells Like Puppets, Voice 123, Voice Island, The Shepherd Agency, Micmacs, Roman VO, Electric Lips, Closing Credits, Icon Productions, Sean Daly, The VO Meter Podcast, Amazing Demos, Imagine Media, Mavo, Kim Handysides, Andy Krieger, Mocap U, Daryl Hogan, The Infinity Forge Studios, Kate Ashby Academy, Mealy Hutton Coaching Sheridan, The Voice Realm, Studio Bricks, Heo Kaimu Orchid Farm, La Lapidus, Voiceover Network, George Whittam, Coor VO, KH Casting, Antland Productions Uncle Roy, Joshua Alexander, Sound for VO, Killer Gin Games, Rob Skiglin Paglia, Mark Cashman, Don Harvey, Voice Talent Online, Francois Balthazar, Bootleg, The Band, Live-O, Takeover, and VO Heaven.
You're going to be singing, you're going to be dancing, you're going to be dying, you're going to be blowing up, you're going to be flying through the air, you're going to be doing a million things.
Didn't work for me.